Happy Thursday and welcome into the show. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report live here on Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr., and it's Friday Junior. Let's have a day. So much to talk about here on the program this afternoon, and we appreciate all of you for being here with us because no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, thanks for choosing us for your Niners content on this fine Thursday. As for what we're getting into on our live program this afternoon, is a big move coming for San Francisco. The Niners yesterday, in restructuring the contracts, George Kittle as well as Trent Williams, cleared up about $23 million in cap space. So are they looking to make a trade? We're going to put our investigative journalism hats on to try to determine what the Niners' plans are and what San Francisco might be scheming. And could one of those moves be taking care of one of their own homegrown talents in Brandon Aiyuk? He's entering year 4. The Niners did exercise his 5th-year option, so his contract next year is going to be fully guaranteed. But are they looking to have this core group of players together for the next few years? Or could San Francisco look to make a trade for Brian Burns and team him up with Nick Bosa to give the Niners and defensive coordinator Steve Wilks one of the most feared edge rushing combinations in the National Football League? Also on the docket for our program this afternoon, we're going to take a look at the latest Niners injury news going into Week 1 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Watch party coming up on Sunday, by the way. We'll take a look at the Steelers injury report as well. And Adam Schefter shedding some really fascinating insight on the Pat McAfee show as to how the Nick Bosa deal got done. We'll uncover and unpack that too. He was on the Pat McAfee show a little bit earlier today, and he said even early on Wednesday morning, the Niners and Nick Bosa were so far apart, so how were they able to come to an agreement on a deal? Stay tuned. Hang out with us. We'll talk about that as well. We already have 466 people watching live. I want to know where you're watching from, because one of the cool things about hosting this program is the fact that people watch us not just in every pocket of America, but worldwide. This is the worldwide go-to spot for the faithful, so get the comment section going and help me out here. We have almost 500 people hanging out with us on this Thirsty Thursday, only 52 likes. If you're a diehard fan of the Niner and you're excited to talk shop today, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. Look at where people are tuned in from. Akron, Maine Library. That's very cool. Middle of nowhere, Missouri. Albuquerque, New Mexico. West Virginia. Oklahoma. Texas. West Virginia again. Carlsbad, California. Our guy Laura's in Hamilton City, California. ABQ Freedom. Albuquerque, New Mexico. Tuck Wyatt. We're going international. London is in the building. Monterey, California, Wyoming, Modesto, Florida, Spokane, Washington, from the homie Wet Noodle 187, Long Beach, California, Maryville, Tennessee, Camden, New Jersey, Faithful in Maine. I vacation often on the Belgrade Lakes in Maine. Beautiful location. Absolutely love it up there. Corona, California, Laredo, Texas, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Moose Cow, Australia, Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Oi, oi, oi. I told you the faithful is rocking with us from everywhere. Up to 480 people watching live, only 100 likes. In the next minute, can we get to 200 likes? Now, earlier today, we talked about some of the same elements that we're going to discuss on our live show today, but I really focused in on Brandon Aiyuk. I think that San Francisco, in clearing up $23 million in cap space, saving money now, saving money in the future, is looking ahead at a potential Brandon Aiyuk contract extension. And I think that could be the move that the Niners are looking at down the pipeline. I talked about this ad nauseum earlier today. Video already has 20,000 views. So after we're done with our live show, make sure you hang out with us and you can watch that video as well. Because you look at some of the financial moves that San Francisco has made here in the last 24-plus hours. They gave Nick Bosa the largest contract in the history of the NFL for a non-quarterback. He's going to be making $34 million per year over the span of that 5-year contract. But in order to give Bosa some of that money, but also to free up some space this year and in 2024, San Francisco's front office restructuring the contract for George Kittle, restructuring the contract for Trent Williams, and that's what paved open an opportunity for this Niners organization to free up those $23 million. And a big reason why I think that Brandon Aiyuk is next up, look at the track record of the decisions made and the money handed out by this Niners organization. They take care of their own players. Why would Brandon Aiyuk be any different? And the salary cap is kind of fake in professional sports, especially in the NFL. Yes, there is a hard cap, but with contract restructures, there are financial gymnastics and hurdles that you can take in order to keep your semblance group of core players while still paying top dollar to other guys. George Kittle, highest paid tight end at the time in 2020. Now he's the third highest paid tight end in the National Football League. Fred Warner at the time was given the largest contract for an off-ball linebacker in the NFL. And then Darius Leonard was able to get a little bit more than him after the fact. Deebo Samuel is now the 7th highest paid wide receiver in the NFL right now. He got taken care of. And now Nick Bosa, he puts pen to paper, returned to the practice field today officially after flying to California last night. He gets $34 million per year. And if Brandon Aiyuk has a better season once again, as compared to Deebo, if Deebo's the 7th highest paid wide receiver right now, and the market once again changes, and Aiyuk outplays Deebo, and he's the Niners' #1 wide receiver for the 2nd consecutive year, could Aiyuk get even more than Deebo? And is that the money that San Francisco, like any quality business does, is looking ahead at in trying to pay BA? So if you want to see Brandon Aiyuk get paid, let's go Brandon. Type LGB down in the comments section here. I think that this guy is a really special player. He's become everything that you had envisioned him becoming when you drafted him in 2020, and probably more. And why I like Aiyuk, still young, but he loves the game of football. Constantly in the lab, the footwork, the route running, those are things that take repetition and a lot of reps. And you really caring about your craft, like Nick Bosa at defensive end. And he's gotten better and better and better every year that he's been in the National Football League. So type LGB. We'll give you some more shout-outs here. Love to see all of the faithful in the chat right now. Great feedback on the live show already. What New to 187, The Shadow Bar, Marla P, Matt Reese, Gabe D, Joe Rojas, Paul, Pete Gorman, Young Dick Dong, nice. Raymond, Eric Shun, Byron McCants, Tyrell. Good to see some real ones in here. Good to see some OGs, but good to see some fresh faces as well. And if you haven't subscribed to the show, you're new here. Niners shows every single day right here on the 49ers Report, brought to you by yours truly. My name is Chase Sr. If you want to be a part of the show today, use hashtag 49ers or Super Chat. And speaking of Super Chats, Gump Wolf, Gump Wolf, Gump Wolf, getting us started with a bang, bang, Niner Gang. A $50 super chat to get us moving. Gump Wolf, one of our Goldmine Hall of Famers, tuned in from Cincinnati, Ohio. Thank you so much for the $50 super chat. If you want to send in a donation, a tip, or a super chat, here's our super chat menu here. $5, Thirsty Thursday Sips. It's Thirsty Thursday, Friday Junior. Let's have some fun. You send in 10, producer Chip, who's on the ones and twos, he has to drink. You send in 20, we have to chug. You send in 50, shotgun or a beer bong. And if we get to $200 in total super chats on the show today, we will go live even earlier for our watch party for Sunday's season opener against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Right now, we're slated to go live an hour before kickoff. We get to 200, we'll go live even earlier. All right, if you're ready for the official show to start, if you're ready to talk some shop, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video right now. Still well over more than 500 people watching live, 181 likes. Can we get to 200 likes before we start the official show? If you're ready to talk some Niners, make sure you hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. And for those of you coming into the show right now, Chip, let's show them what we're going to talk about on the program here today, because there's so much to unpack. There's so much to dissect. And we're so glad that all of you are here with us hanging out. So really what I want to focus in on is piggybacking off of what we talked about a little bit earlier on the show, which that video went out this morning, is a big move coming for San Francisco. We just spent a few moments talking about Brandon Aiyuk. What we're going to start off with is talking about Brian Burns as well as Chandler Jones. We'll hit the latest Niners injury news and Adam Schefter with some insight as to how the Nick Bosa deal got done. Because he went on the Pat McAfee show today and he said, as early as yesterday morning, the two sides were so far apart. How did they come to an agreement? Stay tuned and we'll find out. Mutt Flatulence with the $20 super chat. Let's effing go. Real One and Chase, thank you for all that you do for us. And Mutt, that is a beer chug from me. Appreciate you, homie. Drinking out of the Niner mug for you. Gump Wolf, I do owe you that shotgun. We'll do that after our first segment here. I just want to capitalize on the audience being here, and we'll continue the Thirsty Thursday party here in just a little bit. So, as I mentioned, going to start off talking about Brian Burns here. What's the next move? After San Francisco cleared up $23 million, could it be Brian Burns? The official show on the 49ers Report starts right now. Continue to support the show by hitting that thumbs up icon, liking the video. And if anybody sends in a super chat over the next few minutes during this segment, we'll answer all of those supers right after our first segment here live on the show. All right, so what's next for the San Francisco 49ers? And are they looking to make a move to really bolster this roster going into the 2023 season or even in the early portion of the 2023 campaign? That's what we're talking about on today's San Francisco 49ers Report. I'm Chase Sr. No matter where you are, how you're tuned in, we appreciate you for watching the show. And really what I want to focus in on today's program, we'll talk about Brian Burns. We're going to also talk about Chandler Jones. He could be on his way out with the Las Vegas Raiders. First, though, in case you missed it, I talked about a potential Brandon Aiyuk contract extension because I do believe that with San Francisco opening up $23 million in cap space after the restructures of George Kittle and Trent Williams, like any good business does, they could be looking ahead into the future with trying to keep and maintain Brandon Aiyuk on this roster. That video is on the channel. Go back and watch it. So you look at the financial moves for the Niners here. They signed Nick Bosa to that $170 million contract. It spans 5 years. He gets $34 million per year, overtakes Aaron Donald as the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of football. But also, on top of that, San Francisco's front office very busy during that historic Wednesday. They restructured the contract for Kittle. They restructured the contract for Trent Williams, and in the process, freed up the aforementioned $23 million. With the Kittle restructure specifically, according to Over the Cap, very good service, San Francisco will save $9.2 million in 2024, $8.8 million in 2025, only $80,000 this year. So clearly, they're thinking ahead here. And that's why I alluded to the Brandon Aiyuk contract extension, because next year is the final year of his contract, fifth-year option, and it's a guaranteed 1 year. As for the Trent Williams restructure, $14.2 million in 2024 and 2025, and then $15.5 million in 2026. On top of everything that I've said, I think this is also good news for San Francisco, because I would imagine this means that Kittle, Trent Williams, they have plans personally, and the organization has plans as well to keep them on this roster as part of this core. And how often have we been talking about this Super Bowl window being open for this current crew over the next 2 to 5 years, especially with Brock Purdy on that rookie contract? That's why you have to maximize this current window, and that's why I thought it was so important for Nick Bosa to get that deal done. Before we take a look at Brian Burns and Chandler Jones, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're closing in on 85,000 subscribers, and I can guarantee you this. Whenever the Niners make a move, especially if it's a trade for Chandler Jones, Brian Burns. We're going to cover it here on the show because every transaction the Niners make, we have you covered right here on the program. As for the latest on Brian Burns, interesting scenario with the Carolina Panthers defensive end, who's one of the best edge rushers in the game. He's entering the final year of his contract. He wants a new deal. This year in 2023, base salary and a cap hit of $16 million. He was a first-round pick, 16th overall in the 2019 NFL draft out of Florida State. And ever since Carolina drafted him out of FSU, the Seminoles, by the way, looked awesome week one against LSU for the diehard college football fans out there. He has produced really, really quality sack numbers. The Burns situation has been different than the Nick Bosa situation. Bosa held out for 44 days. Brian Burns, on the other hand, conducted a hold-in. He was at every training camp practice, every meeting, but this week, leading into the season opener, missed a couple of practices. That was a part of his holdout, and then he returned to practice on Wednesday. Even with the contract situation with Burns, being unhappy with the current situation in Carolina, Frank Reich did name him a team captain. So he is revered in that locker room and very widely respected. Now, a lot of people in the Niner atmosphere, stratosphere, are talking about this Brian Burns trade, and we've talked about it here on the show dating back a season or two ago. Partially because the edge rushing combination between Bosa and Brian Burns. Bosa and Burns. Can you imagine that being on a shirt? It would be lethal. A funny jersey swap here for Brian Burns put together by SF Niners, but can you imagine these two players and the game planning that would have to take place by opposing offenses? They'd have nightmares at night. Quarterbacks wouldn't be able to rest because these guys are very, very good players. So with that, we tee up our first poll question of today's show. Should the Niners trade for Brian Burns? I'll be looking down in the comment section to see what you say. Give me a T for trade or a P for pass. We always appreciate your feedback down below in the comment section. As I mentioned, Burns' career has gotten off to a terrific start. He's drafted in the first round in 2019 out of Florida State, and he hits the ground running. 7.5 sacks as a rookie. Same draft class, by the way, as Nick Bosa. Bosa, as a rookie, had 9 sacks in his rookie campaign. Burns that year also added 16 quarterback hits. He's also been really good with TFLs. Very active in the backfield. In 2020, ups the sack total to 9 with 21 quarterback hits and 8 tackles for loss. In 2021, another really productive season. 9 sacks once again with 18 quarterback hits and 13 tackles for loss. He also has this ability to play the pass, jump up, and knock down some passes. And in 2022, everything kind of came together. Obviously, he was looking to land that lofty contract extension. 12.5 sacks, 22 quarterback hits, 17 tackles for loss, 3 pass breakups in what was a career year. What I like about Burns, it's the bend coming off the edge. It's the explosiveness. He's a little bit slighter than Nick Bosa. Not as stocky, but a little bit taller. But even though he is a little bit taller, able to get some really good leverage on opposing offensive tackles. And the versatility to his game, you can line him up at right defensive end, left defensive end, and there's no doubt you put him next to Nick Bosa, he's better than Drake Jackson. He's better than Clelin Ferrell. More expensive, for sure. But this San Francisco 49ers organization has shown that they do prioritize the defensive line, and I agree with that team-building strategy. Next up, Burns' Pro Football Focus numbers. This is pretty interesting because this does tell a story. For instance, and for context, Nick Bosa's overall Pro Football Focus grade and his pass rush grade were both north of 90. Brian Burns can't say the same. Overall grade last year of 64.5, not as good against the run as Nick Bosa is. Bosa was in that 80th percentile. Burns at 50.9. His pass rush grade only 71.3, but this is what you like to see here. Nick Bosa had 90 total pressures last year. Brian Burns had 68, and then Burns able to add those 44 quarterback hurries. This could be a byproduct of that Panthers defense struggling last year, but also another reason that we're talking about Burns, that Panthers defense was solid. I'm talking about the personnel around him impacting his numbers. You know who knows Brian Burns really well? Steve Wilks, former Panthers defensive coordinator, current Niners defensive coordinator. We'll talk Chandler Jones here coming up around the corner. First, though, if you want to support the show, support the Niners, and get some gear for the upcoming 2023 campaign, San Francisco. Get your shirts right now. They've been flying off the shelves. We've been sending them out like crazy across the pond, the Atlantic Ocean, across the Pacific Ocean to Australia, and all across America. Chatsports.com/SF. You see the link down below. Get your shirts today, available in red as well as black, and it goes a long way in supporting the program here as well. So we talk about Brian Burns. Now let's talk about another potentially available edge rusher in Chandler Jones. There's a lot going on this front with the Las Vegas Raiders, as it seems as though the Raiders can never escape dysfunction. Jones went on a social media tirade on Tuesday, claiming that he did not want to play for the Las Vegas Raiders any longer. He said, I don't want to play for this general manager. I don't want to play for Josh McDaniels. Then he unfollowed the Raiders as well as Max Crosby, weirdly enough, on Instagram. And then he did not practice on Wednesday either. And then on Wednesday night, he took to Instagram once again, and he was complaining about how the Raiders sent cops to his home to check in on him. He was posting a screenshot with Josh McDaniels. That sounds really messy. Is something going on inside his head? Does he need to seek help? Is that why the Raiders sent him help? There was a report that he tried to access the Raiders facility in the wee hours of the morning, and they denied his key access. Weird stuff going on. Mitchell Renz was also telling me, as the host of the Raiders Report, that he lost a bunch of weight at the end of last year and didn't really practice or play going into the game against the San Francisco 49ers. I'm kind of concerned about the dude, but he's also a really solid player, and he's on the trade block potentially. Last 4 years for him, in 2019, he was awesome. 19 sacks, 53 tackles, 20 tackles for loss. In 2020, only played in 5 games. 2021, he comes back with 10.5 sacks. And then last year, 15 games played. Lost that weight, which I didn't love. And because of that, I think he lost a little bit of his physicality, down to 4.5 sacks. The Pro Football Focus numbers, okay. Not special by any means. Able to log 748 snaps for the Raiders last year, overall PFF grade of 63.8, and then a run defense grade of 65.5, a pass rush grade of 60.4. Sometimes in instances like this, these types of players need a change of scenery. He's a veteran. He's a little bit older. Yes, he is a little bit expensive, but you get him right. You get him playing in this scheme where he's playing alongside Nick Bosa. Maybe you get some of that production, but no doubt I'm going with the younger player here in Brian Burns. And frankly, I'm not touching Chandler Jones, but this is America. You could disagree with me if you want. So you see the question here to my right. Pick an edge rusher here. Who would you rather go with? Brian Burns, Chandler Jones. Type BB or CJ. I'm going Brian Burns all day. Give me Burns and Bosa on that defensive line for San Francisco. Appreciate y'all for watching. If you're watching us live right now on our Thursday live show, don't go anywhere. We're just heating up. All right, good stuff for our first segment. 760 people watching live. We had a couple of super chats come in as well during that segment, so we'll hit on those super chats too. Coming up next on the show, Niners injury report, Steelers injury report, and how the Bosa historic extension got done when on the early portion of yesterday, it didn't seem as though the two sides were close, according to Adam Schefter. ABQ Freedom with the $2 donation. Thank you, ABQ. Isn't the offensive line and protecting Purdy more important? Well, we'll see what Colton McKivitz looks like week 1 against TJ Watt. We're going to find out very quickly, and we'll see if Spencer Burford adding some of that weight this offseason leads to him playing better. If they decide to lock it down and they play good football, San Francisco's offensive line is in a much better spot. If they struggle, yes, I agree with you. You need to fortify the offensive line. What I'm also concerned about, not really a swing tackle on this year's team. Like Colton McKivitz used to be your swing tackle. Now Matt Pryor is your backup right tackle who can't play left tackle. And then Jalen Moore is your backup left tackle who isn't comfortable with playing right tackle. That's a little bit of a problem. Let me throw this out there as well. We're looking into the future earlier on, talking about Brandon Aiyuk's potential contract extension coming for San Francisco down the road. They've also made moves going into the NFL trade deadline each of the last few years. Jordan Willis, Charles Omenihu, Christian McCaffrey, all in consecutive seasons. So that's something to watch as well. The real GOAT with the $5 super chat, 49ers will be celebrating on the Raiders' turf this upcoming February. Only happy ending Jimmy has given y'all won't be football related. Elite super chat right there. And with that, let's cue up our super chat menu because the real GOAT, that was a GOAT comment, and I always love GOAT jokes. So cheers to you. Thirsty Thursday sips. Let's ride. $10 Chip has to drink. I had to chug a little bit earlier. And how about Gump Wolf? Sending in the $50 super chat. I do owe y'all a shotgun. And if we get to $200 in total, we're already going live an hour before kickoff on Sunday for our watch party. If we get to $200 in total, we're at 77 right now. We'll go live even earlier for our watch party against the Steelers, as it is set to be an absolute blast. All right. I owe Gump Wolf a $50 super chat. Coming up next on the show, latest Niners injury news and a Nick Bosa contract update. How did the deal get done? Adam Schefter with some information on that front. And Chip, you can show that $50 super chat from Gump Wolf if you want. We'll get the shotgun going here. Shout out Happy Dad. Not a sponsor, but they should be. Gump Wolf, appreciate you. 50 bones from Cincinnati.
There we go. Chug, 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 chug. Woo! Gump Wolf!
Jake, what was the trade? No trade. We're talking about if the Niners are going to make a trade after clearing up $23 million in cap space. And what the thought process is that maybe the Niners are clearing up that money for a trade this year. Or my theory, a Brandon Aiyuk contract extension some point down the road. Henry, what's happening? Just had to take down a shotgun for that $50 super chat. Can we get to $100 in donations? We're at 77 right now. Coming up next on the show, segment number 2. Latest Niners injury news and a Nick Bosa contract update. Let's get to it right now. Coming up on today's San Francisco 49ers report, going to take a look at the latest Niners injury news going into Sunday's game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. With that, we'll also take a look at the Steelers injury report and how did the Nick Bosa contract get done. Adam Schefter went on the Pat McAfee show and had some fascinating insight as to how the contract got done because early on Wednesday, Nick Bosa and his camp, as well as the Niners organization, according to Schefter, were not even close. So how did they put pen to paper, and how did Nick Bosa become the highest paid defensive player in the history of the game that afternoon? Stay tuned to find out. First, though, make sure you join us for our Week 1 watch party. Niners on the road to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Our live coverage begins at 12 o'clock Eastern, 9 a.m. for those of you on the West Coast. And how about this? We have the best Super Chat giveaway that we've ever had here on the show. An actual Niners helmet will go to our Super Chat MVP, the person who sends in the largest single Super Chat. And, of course, your donations go a long way in supporting the program. So with that, let's take a look at the latest Niners injury report here. Center guard John Feliciano did miss practice on Wednesday just because of an illness. Trent Williams, non-injury related, did not practice on Wednesday, a rest day for the veteran. Linebacker Oren Burke still dealing with that knee injury, but he was limited. Deshaun Gibson, he has sworn that he was going to practice this week and play on Sunday. Back injury for him. He always was saying throughout this week, nicks and bruises, but San Francisco making it clear it's a back injury for him. He was a limited participant. Talanoa Hufanga with the knee, also a limited participant. And then we round out with this. Some great news on George Kittle here. missed practice earlier this week. He's been dealing with that groin injury over the last couple of weeks. He was doing sprints, a limited participant, running routes, catching footballs. It looks as though he's going to be good to go for Sunday's season opener. Jordan Mason still ailing with that foot. And also some more good news, Ray McLeod expects to play. He got hurt in the lead up to the Raiders joint practices several weeks ago. He had to undergo wrist surgery, and it was expected at the time for him to be out 8 weeks, but he's expected to be this team's return man on Sunday against Pittsburgh. Jake Moody, gonna most likely be like a game time decision or at least a Saturday decision with that right quad injury. If he can't kick, Matthew Wright will. George Odom's shoulder, full participant, and then Brock Purdy with that right elbow, a full participant as well. Let's spend a couple of moments talking about George Kittle because it seems as though once a year he's always dealing with one of these soft tissue injuries. And once again, he's been dealing with that adductor injury right in that groin area. He also suffered that injury in the lead up to those Raiders joint practices. This is a big development late in the week for San Francisco that he returned to practice because at the end of last year, he was playing great football with Brock Purdy, and he was Purdy's go-to guy. Last 4 games of the regular season, George Kittle had 7 touchdowns. Last year in total, he had 11 touchdowns. En route to a really, really solid season for Kittle, 60 catches, 765 yards, but those 11 touchdowns, he really came on the final month of the season, and I thought he really added another element to that Niners offense. He's so good at blocking that sometimes he's used too much as a blocker. But Kyle Shanahan sprinkled him in as more of a pass catcher, and him and Purdy were really on the right page, both with the short intermediate routes, but also with the long ball, taking the top off of the defense. As for the Steelers injury report, defensive tackle Cam Hayward, this a late development on Thursday, limited participant, and his status is unknown for Sunday's game because of a stomach injury. I'm not sure how you have a stomach injury, but that's the latest on Cam Hayward, a very good defensive tackle. If he's out, you can run the football right up the middle. Kyle Shanahan obviously likes to do that, one of the fortes of this outside zone scheme. Larry Ogunjobi, foot injury, expected to play. Steelers outside of that, relatively healthy. If you want a full-blown preview of this game, we already did that earlier this week, and this is why you subscribe to the show for the best Niners content here on YouTube. Niners, Steelers, betting odds, matchups to watch, keys to the game, my score prediction. Go back and watch it. We appreciate your support. So we already covered the latest Niners injury news. Coming up next on the show, how did this Nick Bosa contract extension come to fruition to the point where he was on the practice field on Thursday? We'll get to that here in just a second. First, though, week 1 betting odds. The line kind of hovering between 2.5 points and 2 points, depending on what sportsbook you look at. For us, it's our sportsbook partner, BetUS, the only sportsbook that we use, and the over-under, 41. I like the over because if I go under, I kind of feel soft. BetUS, that's our sportsbook partner, and they have the best deal that any sportsbook has to offer. Chatsports.com/49bet. Promo code Niners125 for a 125% deposit bonus. You put $100 into your account, you get $125 back, $225 to game with. Get signed up today. So we round out the show with this. How did the deal get done? Nick Bosa becoming the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of football, $34 million per year. Adam Schefter went on the Pat McAfee show and had a lot to say. So let's dissect it here. Schefter, well, here's what happened. Essentially in the morning on Wednesday, both sides thought that they were a ways away, far apart from getting a deal done. The exact language that was used to me was huge gaps between the two sides. And so Kyle Shanahan was getting ready to meet the media on Wednesday, and they had their vice president of media relations, Corey Rush, in there debriefing him. Sounds like a presidential speech or something. Saying some things that he should be answering about the Nick Bosa situation. Nothing different to tell you guys. Very sorry. Wish we had him. Now, Kyle Shanahan actually addressed that during his Wednesday news conference after Bosa signed. He said, I was getting ready to come out here, talk to you guys, and then I just got word that Bosa signed that deal. And then he was asked as a follow-up, what happened? Like, what was the reaction? He said, a lot of bro hugs. And during that press conference, you could tell Kyle Shanahan was elated. And I imagine that John Lynch, Adam Peters, they were relieved as well to finally get this done, because that could mean that Nick Bosa was going to be on the field for Sunday's game against Pittsburgh. And San Francisco, clearly not the same team with Super Bowl aspirations without Nick Bosa as compared to him being on the field. It's one of the happiest that I've ever seen Kyle Shanahan being. So he talked about that. More from Schefter. There it is. Nick Bosa, new deal, gets the deal done. And so the Niners find out. And I think what happened here is ultimately the two sides can negotiate all they want. They could feel they're far apart all they want. But I think in the end, Nick Bosa has to say, I want to be here for my team. It's important for me to be there with my guys. We've taken this far enough. Let's go and get this done. And I think he gives a directive in the end. Hey, I'm taking this deal. It's a record deal. I'm the richest defensive player in NFL history, richest non-quarterback deal in NFL history. Adam Schefter also adding, where it got to the point where Bosa said, I'll take it from here. That's exactly what Nick Bosa said. That coming from Adam Schefter, who seems to have some really good insight into these negotiations, how these conversations went, and what transpired. And at the end of the day, it's a great deal for Bosa, right? He gets $34 million per year. In the NFC West, he now has bragging rights that he's making more money as compared to Aaron Donald. And $34 million, you're not going to walk away from that. Bosa's camp has to be really jacked up about getting that much money. It's just crazy to me that it took so long. And that's why I was critical of San Francisco. And I think partially the Niners felt the heat of trying to get this deal done. You say time and time again, we have Bosa budgeted for. When he won Defensive Player of the Year and he had 18.5 sacks, you had to have known that beating out Aaron Donald was the starting point. So the fact that San Francisco seemed a little bit shocked that Bosa was asking for more than Donald, I didn't get it. But at the end of the day, they get the deal done. 97 going to be rocking the scarlet, red, and gold for a really, really long time. How many snaps will Bosa play on Sunday? TJ Watt had a hold-in 2021, and he signed his deal 48 hours before the game. He played 69 of 85 snaps and had 2 sacks in that matchup. Gives you some insight. If I'm San Francisco, I need Bosa for the duration of the season. I'm targeting, depends on the game flow, but let's say there are 85 snaps in the game. I'm giving him about 40 snaps, and I'm prioritizing having him on the field for a lot of obvious third down pass rush situations so that he can make an impact on the game. Let me know how many snaps you think Bosa will play on Sunday. Let's take a look at the chat. 67 to 89 from the average Niners fan. James Miller with the score prediction here. San Francisco 31. Steelers with 7. Johnny Dubs, he's saying 50 to 60, somewhere in that range. Davo is going 30 here. Flea Market Mixtape hasn't proved much at all until recently started to produce. That's just absolute cap. He had 9 sacks as a rookie. He had 15.5 coming off a torn ACL and 18.5. 15.5, 18.5. You combine those 2 seasons, nobody's had more in the NFL the last 2 years. If that's not producing, you're tough to please. 55 from Maurice Shorts. 49 from Big Ran, the Niner fan. I like that name, by the way. Paris Schmidt, 66. 40 to 50 from Marine Vet. Brian saying, yay, yay. John Porter, 45. 65 from Ismael Rodriguez. Doug Pine, 40, and Brian with another 47. So I think it's somewhere in that 40 range. Obviously, game flow does dictate that. If it's a slow-moving game, not as many snaps. If it's a fast-moving game, a lot more snaps. But we know this about Nick Bosa. Guy's going to be in shape. That is for sure. All right, 621 people watching live. An awesome, awesome audience today, and an absolutely fantastic show. And I think the content has been straight up stellar. We're at $77 in donations. Can we get to 100? And if we get to 200 total on today's live show, we will go live even earlier than the hour pregame show that I told y'all we'd be going live for against the Pittsburgh Steelers for our watch party on Sunday. You send in 5 Thirsty Thursday sips right out of the Niner mug here. $10, producer Chip has to drink. $20, we'll chug. $50, shotgun or a beer bong. $200 total, earlier watch party. Mr. Individual with the $5 donation, thank you so much for sending in your tip to the show. We're not worthy, but we always appreciate it. Mr. Individual 81, is that for Terrell Owens? At least it's not Mr. Unlimited, because Russell Wilson is a cornball. I think we should throw Robbie some of that restructured money we just freed up. I'm not ruling out Robbie Gould being signed by San Francisco, but it can't happen yet. See what Jake Moody can do. And you spent a third-round pick on him. You have to see what he's able to do. Robbie Gould is a long play for San Francisco. You can't just bring him in for a week because Jake Moody will piss down his leg. You have to see what Jake Moody can do as a third-round pick. You invested in him. Can he be that guy? If not, cut bait. You have a Super Bowl contending team. You can't deal with kicker problems. Then you bring in Robbie Gould because you know he's going to be your answer for the long haul. And Robbie Gould has said he wants to still play. And I still think that he can play. Doesn't have a long leg. The new touchback rules certainly changed this as well, where, you know, Robbie Gould can get away with some of those kickoffs. I saw a report he doesn't want to take kickoffs any longer. No chance I'm keeping 2 kickers on my 53-man roster. Bro, you want a job? You want to come back to the Niners? You're perfect on your playoff field goal attempts. You want to kick for this team? Kick the damn kickoff and split the uprights on some of your field goals. So, Mr. Individual with that 5, cheers to you. Is anybody new to the show today? If you're new to the show today, type me in the chat. Type me if you're new to the show. I just want to see if we have some new viewers here, and make sure you also hit that subscribe button. Drake the Great pissed down his leg. Hey, man, sometimes you got to keep it a buck. That's what I'm trying to do here. Robert Slavin me. Ilo me. Mike me. Pex has been here for a while. Chris typing me. James typing me. Satano Williams. Jason Donnelly. Byron Davis. Dr. Bowdoin. So this is what I can assure y'all. We're going to give you informative, entertaining, insightful Niners analysis every single day. We're also going to be creative. We're going to interact with everybody out there. We want this to be the forum for the faithful. We're also going to have a lot of fun as well. For instance, we're going to party. If somebody sends in a big super chat donation to show some love to the channel, we're going to celebrate that. Like when Gump Wolf sent in the $50 super chat, I shotgunned a beer. Because you got to be built different. You got to have fun. Just like Pat McAfee does his own thing, we do our own thing here at Chat Sports. So thank you so much for being here. Joseph saying best show online. You're certainly a real one. And for those of you who are new, I want you to grade our content today on a scale of 1 to 100. 1, trash. 100, elite. Let me know in the chat right now, and we'll start to give you some more shout-outs here, even if it's bad, because we want your feedback down below.
Where those hundreds at? Come on, where those hundreds at? 101, 1,000.
Let's go, Lamar. Joseph, let's go. Brian, last letter said 75. Hey, I can guarantee you keep coming back, you're going to go up on that number. 1 million from the average Niner fan. Chamberlain May, 95. Greg Smith, 100. 100,000. James Woods going infinity. That's good stuff. Drake the Great, infinity as well. Marine Vet, 100. Gabriel, I was here before the Niners Chat Sports was created. I was here for years of the Chat Sports original channel. That's awesome. You always give us good shit from Lamar. Lamar. Hicks. Eric, 69. Very nice. How much? 56 from David Love. You must not have seen the earlier segments. If you saw those earlier segments, I think your number would be a little bit higher. Last letter, yes, sir. I'll be back for sure. Appreciate you. Cole Bridges, 420. With a lot of people watching in California, I see what you're getting at. Greg Smith, infinity. That's good stuff right there. All right. We are at $82 in Super Chats. I had to shotgun that beer, and now it went right through me. I got to use the bathroom. So I'm going to challenge everybody out there. I'm going to run. I'm going to sprint to the bathroom right now because I want to continue to chop it up with everybody. I'm going to pop up producer Chip here, and he's going to give y'all shout-outs. But as I sprint to the bathroom, take a leak, and come back, if we get to $100 by the time I'm back here, I'm taking down another beer. We're at $82 in donations right now, so we're 18 away. So start the clock right now.
The clock is ticking. Tick, 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 tick. What's going on, Niners fans? How we doing today? I want to know how you're feeling about the game. Drop your thoughts on the game and drop me a score prediction while you're at it. I'm giving shout-outs. Killa Hunter Ray, can you shout me out? Absolutely, Ray. Real one chip from Joseph. Look, here's what I want to do. Chase isn't here. He doesn't know I'm doing this, right? I'm feeling a little thirsty on this Thirsty Thursday. So Chase said if we get to 100, he's killing a beer. We get to 100, we're 20 bucks away. I'm killing a beer too. I'm doing a beer ball. Can't wait from Joseph. Oh man, the NFL season is here, man. All right, we got Greg Smith, 41-3. Woo! I like where your head's at, Greg. 21-10, real one here from the average 49ers fan. Gordon Perry. Oh! And just like that, we hit the 100 before Chase gets back. We got a $20 super chat coming in from John Wallace. Here you go, because of Black Mask. This was freed up. I'm late today getting here, but I'm here. San Francisco 31 to Pittsburgh 23. I like that score prediction. John Wallace, appreciate you. Appreciate everybody here with us today. And looks like me and Chase got a couple beers to kill. Can we go even more before he gets back, huh? We got one. We got it, baby.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Who did it? My guy, Johnny Dubs. He got it done. Johnny Wallace. Here you go. Because of Black Mask, this was freed up. I'm late today getting here, but I'm here. San Francisco, 31-23. So if that's the score, smash the over. Smash the over. Smash the over.
I did tell him when you weren't here. I wanted to make sure we got to the 100, so I told him I'd kill a beer too if we got
that's
there.
right. You doing it?
Yeah.
All right, bet. We're going to go Happy Dad again out of the beer bong here. See, I like these Happy Dads. Not as many carbs as a beer, and there are also electrolytes in these too, so you don't get as dehydrated. $20 from Johnny Dubs. We appreciate you, brother. San Francisco. For those of you who are going to tune into our watch party, by the way, on Sunday, check out this Niners helmet that we're going to be giving away. This thing is incredible, and this will go to our Super Chat MVP. So whoever sends the largest individual Super Chat on Sunday, you're going to get this Niners helmet. So let's go. We're at 102 in Super Chats. I did tell y'all earlier, if we got to 200, we're going live even earlier than our hour pregame show, as our coverage starts on Sunday at 12 o'clock Eastern, 9 a.m. for those of you on the West Coast. Look at this thing, man. I could play quarterback right now for the Niners. San Francisco. Last letter said, that's mine. Hey, Sunday's watch party could get a little bit crazy. Gump Wolf. Chug, chug, chug. My man, good to see you back in the building. Sent in the 50 earlier. So Gump Wolf is our Super Chat MVP. I see a lot of people using hashtag 49ers. We'll take some of your questions here over the next few minutes. Not going to stay live all that long, but we're up to 112 in Super Chats. We get to 200. We're going live even earlier. We'll add 10 minutes to our pregame show if we get to $200 in Super Chats as Chip About to take his beer bong down. We'll get to some hashtag Niners questions. Just use hashtag Niners. Joseph, that helmet will go on my Rottweiler. It probably fits, honestly. It probably fits. This thing is awesome, dude. Like, I want this at my at-home setup in the background as I'm, like, hosting the show. Chip, here we go. I didn't try to, like, kill it too fast. I went Happy Dad, though. You're going beer. Watch out for that foam. A little foamy. Exactly. Hey, just throw it back. Throw it back. That's all you got to do. Chip, 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 chip. Jake Chipper, everybody. One of our new producers here. The real ones know who he is, but for those of you new to the show, that is him, and he is him. For those of you who are unfamiliar and coming across a Jake Chipper production for the first time. All right, we're at 112 in Super Chats. If anybody has a question, we're going to run through some right now. Hashtag 49ers. Just pop those up, Chip, and we could just run through a couple of questions real quick. I have a buddy from Philly who's in town, so I'm going to go meet up with him here in a bit. Let me just send him a text to this new place, Tequila Social, and then we can meet some of the Chat Sports homies at Buffalo Wild Wings if we want. Tequila Social is on the Katy Trail. All right, 430 people watching live. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Let's take some of your questions here. Hot Dog 4789, 33-30. That's his final score. Niners win. Nick Bosa with 3 sacks and TJ with 2. Offense has a tough time for both teams. Well, if they have a tough time, you're going 33-30. So are we including a pick six? Are we including a defensive score for a touchdown? Because that's a lot of points scored. That would smash the over of 41. I failed elementary algebra in college, but I can do that math. That's 63 points right there. I like it, Hot Dog 4789. Killer Hunter Ray, do you think the Niners will win the Super Bowl? And who do you think the opponent will be? Look, there's no excuse for San Francisco to not be back in the NFC Championship game. I think it's Philadelphia and it's San Francisco in the NFC. And then after that, there is a massive drop-off after those two teams. And that next tier, Lions, Cowboys, Seahawks, Giants, Vikings. But San Francisco is so loaded. And I do believe that they have a great opportunity to make it to the Super Bowl. As for who they will play against, Kansas City Chiefs, Cincinnati Bengals, Buffalo Bills, sneaky team that I really, really like, Jacksonville Jaguars, who the Niners will play in the regular season in Jayville this year. ABQ Freedom, when am I not watching First Amendment videos? Or when I am not watching First Amendment videos, I am watching this channel. Hey, I believe in the First Amendment. I believe that this is the best country in the world. No questions asked. Anybody who doesn't believe with that and isn't riding with that, I firmly disagree. And if you want to spend your time watching First Amendment videos, that's awesome. I also appreciate you watching this show. So thank you, ABQ. ABQ, we appreciate you. Cole Bridges, should we try for a true shutdown defensive back? Defensive line seems strong to me. So when you think about the layers of the defense, right? First level, defensive line, second level linebacker, third level, secondary. I'm not a huge advocate of paying crazy dollars to cornerbacks if you have a really good defensive line. Let me tell you why. If you generate a consistent pass rush and you're able to consistently pressure the quarterback to the point where that quarterback doesn't have a lot of time to survey the field, go through his reads and progressions, and throw the ball downfield because he's having to worry about going up against a stout pass rush, you can get away with solid to good and not great corners. Now, if you draft one and you happen to have that player under team control for the next 4 to 5 years at a very affordable price tag, that's a great team building strategy. Because then you can devote the rest of the money to quarterback, defensive end, offensive tackle, positions that I believe are a little bit more important. Wide receiver in today's pass-happy NFL, Charvarius Ward, they paid him. And he's a very, very solid upper-tier cornerback. He's not top tier, but he's upper tier. I'm cool with what the Niners have done at that DB spot. Tuck Wyatt, I loved Ronnie Bell in the preseason. Do you think he'll become wide receiver 3 eventually? I do, because Juwan Jennings is going to sign elsewhere after this year. He's going to get more money from another team. San Francisco's not going to be able to bring him back if he continues his production and being that money guy on 3rd and 4th down and just being in the right time at the right place. And I said at the time of the draft, receipts are there, that I thought that Ronnie Bell was going to become the next Juwan Jennings. Possession receiver, probably best operating out of the slot like Jennings, because when he was on the outside, he struggled to get vertical and beat guys downfield, although he's capable of doing that. The one throw from Sam Darnold in the preseason week 1 against the Raiders was a dot, but it's not like he has that long form separation. So you put him in the slot, match him up against nickels, safeties, linebackers. I think that he can win those matchups, and I like his prospects of being wide receiver 3. And then you think about Debo, Aiyuk, and Ronnie Bell, and George Kittle. You talk about Yak Bros. That's the Yak Kingdom right there. John Wallace, hey, Chase the GOAT. What time is the game on East Coast here? 1 o'clock. Yes, 1 o'clock game because it's being played in Pittsburgh on the eastern side of the United States. I call the East Coast like Philadelphia, and then Pittsburgh is like 5 hours west. So it's almost teetering on Midwest, but it is Eastern time zone in Pittsburgh. 1 o'clock game. That's why we'll be going live 12 o'clock Eastern. I know you live in the Charlotte area, right, John? North Carolina. I was in your home area. I was in Charlotte this past weekend. Fantastic time. So, yes, we'll start our pregame show about 12 o'clock Eastern. Unless on our live show today, we get the $200 in Super Chats. We're at 114 right now. Cole Bridges with another one. Do you think Ray is rushing back too quickly from his wrist surgery? I don't. Ray McLeod was on the practice field yesterday, and he was adamant to Kyle Shanahan. When that 8-week timeline was thrown out, he's like, I'll be on the field week 1. Credit to him. Some guys just heal really fast, and when you have a fracture, if the x-rays show that the bone is healed, I don't have a lot of concerns about that. I have concerns about players who try to come back from like ligament injuries, ACL, Achilles type of injuries, because that can snap, that can tear if you come back a little bit too soon. The Raging Unprofessional. What a nickname. Very mean profile picture there. I like it. Thoughts on Hufanga? Had some misses last year, in my opinion. A little bit overly aggressive last year. No doubt about that. But he was an all-pro last year in year 2 as the guy who you selected in the 5th round. So, you live with that aggression, I think. His ability to play in the box, play linebacker, nickel, slot, blitz, especially deep safety too. You combine all of that, he's a really special player. And I don't just say this because Troy Polamalu has helped tutor him in his NFL career, even going back to USC. I don't say this because of the hair and the Polynesian connection. If you watch Hufanga play and you watched Polamalu play, very, very similar, as they are guys who are physical, they play like their hair is on fire, and they fly around the football field. ABQ Freedom, you still owe Gumpwolf a beer. I did the shotgun earlier. I did the $50 shotgun, ABQ. Where were you, ABQ? Must not have been here, because I did it. I'm not wrong, right? I did it. Gumpwolf sent in the 50, then he sent in the 5. Do I owe him a beer cheers? If that's the case, here we go. Oh, the $10 from ABQ? That's a chip drink.
Yeah, $10 is a chip drink. So I
Val
got you.
Brooks is back. Chase, hello. Val, hope to see you during our Sunday watch party. It's going to be awesome. We're going to be live at least an hour before kickoff and our Super Chat giveaway this week. This Niners helmet. Not the mini helmet. We've graduated to the big helmet. Cannot wait for it. Babyface Donnie, what's good, Brody? Do you believe our defense will regress without the presence of D'Amico as Chip takes down his beer? Mountains are blue. Steve Wilks is a fantastic defensive coordinator. He has a long track record of being a very good defensive coordinator in this league. What I'm actually excited about is the fact that this Niners defense might be a little bit more aggressive with Steve Wilks as compared to D'Amico Ryan. So I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see what he can bring to this defense. And there might be a little bit of a regression because D'Amico's a special DC. But Steve Wilks is also a really good defensive coordinator. On the show back in February, I was at the Super Bowl, and I interviewed Jay Glazer and asked him a couple of questions. Hey, Niners brought in Steve Wilks. He said people around the NFL thought at the time that the hiring of Steve Wilks was one of the best coaching hires in the offseason. Not just coordinators, head coaches as well. So that gives you some pretty good insight right there. RSWE, I want the Niners to get Brian Burns, and we need a better offensive line to protect our quarterbacks. Do you think so? If Colton McKivitz and Spencer Burford struggle on the right side, I have huge question marks, and you need to make a move because you can't allow offensive line deficiencies to curtail your hopes of competing for a Super Bowl. As for Brian Burns, if you're just joining the show, RSWE, we did a whole segment on Brian Burns a little bit earlier, so you can just scroll back and watch that. I love the player. Hunter Ray, how many sacks will Bosa get on Kenny Pickett? Let's go manageable here. Let's go 1.5, 2. TJ Watt signed his deal in 2021, 48 hours before the season opener. He had 2 sacks and played 69 to 85 snaps. I think Bosa's going to be 40 to 50 range, and I think he has a sack, at least. The average Niner fan again, do you think Jake Moody will be ready week 1? All signs kind of point to Moody being ready for week 1. Maybe there's a setback, but it's going to be a decision that takes the Niners up until kickoff. Super Fox, is Brock going to be our long-term answer? Too early to say. I just haven't seen enough. You know, he went 7-0 in games that he started and finished last year. He played a lot in 9 games, including the NFC Championship game. I kind of give him credit for beating the Miami Dolphins because he came in when the Niners were down after Jimmy G got hurt. What I like about Purdy is what everybody has said about him as far as his teammates, as far as analysts. What I also like upon the film study, touch, accuracy, anticipation, getting rid of the ball quickly, improvisational plays, making plays out of structure. Those are things that sometimes you have them, sometimes you don't. Purdy has it. I like the swagger too. And when a guy like Fred Warner goes on Taylor Lewan's podcast and he says, we knew right away that he had it, that's the best linebacker in the game. So when he's saying it, it's pretty impressive. Parrish Smith, hey, OC Chase, who you going to double team, Bosa, Hargrave, or Armstead? Great question. And this is why I love the signing of Javon Hargrave, because you can't really afford to double team anybody on that defensive front. Because if you do, Bosa, Hargrave, Armstead, they're going to be able to eat on some of those one-on-one matchups if you do decide to double. So that's why bringing in Hargrave, 11 sacks last year, was such a big move for San Francisco and well worth it, in my opinion, because Bosa needed some help. He had 18.5 sacks last year. Last month of the year, he didn't have a sack. I thought he wore down a little bit. He got a little bit tired because he constantly had to go up against those double teams. So you give him help, it helps you out. I will say this, I'm concerned about the Niners' run defense, especially going up against Najee Harris. You bring in Hargrave, but he's a pass-rushing defensive tackle. Not great against the run. Javon Kinlaw has to come to play. Zy TV, what's good, man? What are your biggest fears? What could potentially be our Achilles heel this season? Bad offensive line play at right guard, right tackle, a Brock Purdy injury, an injury to Trent Williams could completely derail the season. An injury to Nick Bosa could really hurt because you don't have great defensive end depth. Linebacker, if Fred Warner goes down, maybe D. Winters and Jalen Graham can help soften that blow a little bit. I I'd say injuries and offensive line play, and then rushing defense. If they continue to get gashed time and time again, that milks the clock, that keeps your offense off the field, and it wears down your defense. So those are some of the concerns I have. Thank you, Zai, for that. Another reminder, tune in to our Week 1 watch party against the Pittsburgh Steelers. What I want to do right now, Super Chat shot clock for 2 minutes. You have 2 minutes to send in a Super Chat to extend the show, but it has to be $5 or more. One of my buddies from Philly is in town. I want to go link up with him to watch him Thursday Night Football. And producer Chip, he's going to hit B-dubs with a couple of the Chat Sports homies who I'll probably link up with a little bit later. But if you want to donate to the show, you have 2 minutes to do that. And we're at 114 in Super Chats right now. If we get to 200, we're going live even earlier than our hour pregame show. Right now, it's 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. But if we get to 200, we'll go live even earlier. So 2 minutes on the clock. If not, save those Super Chats for Sunday's game if you want to get in the running to win this helmet here. Jason Pickett will be running for his life on Sunday because the Niners are hungry with Bosa signed. Theotis, Niners don't run anyone's offense? What do you mean? Kyle Shanahan does his own thing, and that's why other teams have taken his offensive play calling and play designs. Lord Buddy Bear, sorry, Chase, health problems, no supers for me for a while. Brother, I hope you're okay, man. I hope you're okay. If you need anything, reach out to Mitchell and I. We have your back. We certainly understand that. You don't have to send in a Super Chat to be a real one. You watch the show, you subscribe, you comment, you like the video, and that's all that we need. Other teams run our offense from Theotis. Exactly. That's what I thought you meant. And then you said exactly. Hey, we're seeing eye to eye, brother. We're seeing eye to eye. About 30 seconds left on the 2-minute Super Chat shot clock. Super Fox. I don't know how much Bosa will play on Sunday. I'm going about 40, 50 snaps. Obviously, game flow dictates that, but 40 to 50 snaps. How many yards will CMC have on Sunday? Let's go 100 all-purpose. Receiving and rushing. You need that for your fantasy team, you're saying? Yeah. Everybody type LBB in the chat for Lord Buddy Bear. He's a member of the Goldmine Hall of Fame, and he said he's dealing with some health problems here. Let's give him some well wishes, some prayers, some strength, some good vibes. Type LBB in the chat. He doesn't just support this show. He supports all shows at Chat Sports. So type LBB down below in the comment section. All right, we're about to sign off. Thanks to everybody who tuned in today. $114 in Super Chats. As I always say, we're not worth it, but we appreciate you. We're back on Sunday for our watch party. It's official. Pre-game show getting underway, 12 o'clock Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. This is why you subscribe. Most importantly, hit that bell icon, turn on those notifications, because when we do go live, you'll get that push notification. You'll be able to hang out. San Francisco. Regular season is almost here. Cannot wait. We'll catch you later. Enjoy Thursday Night Football. We out. Peace.